With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown. Our top stories: St. Kitts Nevis Tourism Minister on advancing Caribbean tourism at Asta Caribbean Showcase. Police investigating robbery at Good World Limited grocery store. St. Kitts and Nevis grapples with dual health threat. Saharan dust plume meets heatwave. OECS and CARICOM launch regional campaign against cyber threats. Grenada-China agricultural partnership is wrapping up its 8th phase. Internationally, 2 children killed in Minneapolis shooting during Catholic school mass. Now, the details. The Honorable Marcia Henderson, Minister of Tourism, represented St. Kitts and Nevis on the regional stage and joined a panel of Caribbean ministers at the American Society of Travel Advisors ASTA Caribbean Showcase in Jamaica. From August 23rd to 27th, 2025, over 300 travel professionals and industry stakeholders gathered to connect, collaborate, and explore new opportunities for the Caribbean tourism industry. Minister Henderson shared her vision for advancing Caribbean tourism by building interest in the destination through its cultural heritage.
At this stage of food lovers, I'm always amazed, and I'm serious in the crowd, she in the audience, how she really have the best food in the region, and I'm not being biased at all. But our food is really a reflection of our culture and how we blended our history. We were inhabited earlier before we were independent, like British and French. And even the combination of both culturally, international based on the English and the French, we combined and we came up with unique ways in terms of our culinary. So we got cook-up. Everybody knows what cook-up is? No? Okay, so cook-up for us is, yes. So we blended all of the meats into one pot that you cook with rice, chicken, pork, sausage. I see the minister from Grenada. He understands. So cook-up reflects where we come from, how we managed to take what. And I don't think we like to talk about colonization, but how we were inhabited before we were independent, and we adopted a number of their cultures, and so their practices, and made it our own. So we have cook-up, we have barbecue, that we call street food. Anybody had barbecue? I have some grilled chicken here. Oh yeah. We have barbecue, and we have one. Your clients can actually experience our culture from our culinary experiences. We have a number of farm-to-table experiences where we actually eat what we grow at a number of properties. We feature sea to fork, so there's farm-to-table, and then there is the sea to fork. And so all of that, the culinary is culturally infused as well with the local ingredients.
The Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism, Investment and Culture for St. Lucia, on a separate panel emphasized the importance of regional mobility, which is necessary not just for increased regional integration, but also for cultural preservation.
Related issue. For me, it's not. It's a strategic issue for the Caribbean region. Our people must be able to move between the islands. This has nothing to do with tourism per se. It's a strategic imperative because of who we are as a region and what we are as a region. So this for me is a regional strategic imperative. The government must accept that they have to subsidize interregional travel if necessary to make sure our people can move between the islands. From the young people that sports people, in clubs, churches, we must move between the islands of the region. We're not doing it for tourism. We're doing it for who we are as a region. And I think that should be the starting point. But sustainability is really important for us because when we look to the future of tourism in the Caribbean, a real critical issue is resilience and adaptability. COVID has taught us the need for us to put in structures and to build an industry that is sustainable not just in environmental terms, but also in broader economic and other terms. We can see the effects of climate change in our region. We can see it. And I was saying to someone earlier, we've actually had a better hurricane season this year. We've not had, knock on wood, any serious weather system. Last year was terrible. but we've not had a terrible one this year. But next week we might have the most, vicious.
The Asta Caribbean Showcase is a premier platform for fostering stronger partnerships with travel advisors to showcase the vibrancy of the region. Key activities included a trade show to connect Caribbean-based suppliers and operators with travel advisors, as well as panel discussions featuring tourism ministers from several Caribbean nations. Expert insights were provided on topics such as sustainable tourism, airlift, and experiential travel, among others. The Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force is investigating a robbery that occurred at the Good World Limited grocery store in Trafalgar Village, St. Kitts on August 22nd, 2025, between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. According to the police, initial investigation suggests that a masked assailant that was armed with a firearm entered the establishment and demanded money. The proprietor complied and the assailant fled the scene afterwards. No injuries were sustained during the incident. Anyone with information about the robbery is asked to contact the nearest police station or the Crime Stoppers hotline at 707. The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis is currently facing a significant public health challenge as a Saharan dust plume converges with a severe heat wave, prompting a public advisory from the Ministry of Health. Residents and visitors are urged to take immediate precautions to prevent heat-related illnesses and mitigate the respiratory impacts of the dense Saharan air layer sweeping across the islands. This dual environmental threat elevates health risks, particularly for vulnerable populations and individuals with pre-existing conditions. The St. Kitts Meteorological Services confirms that the Federation has experienced high temperatures over the past 7 days, with an average maximum temperature of 31.7 degrees Celsius, officially meeting the criteria for a heat wave. Coupled with the Caribbean Sea's peak temperatures and elevated humidity, the heat index makes conditions feel significantly hotter. Simultaneously, the Saharan dust plume is causing respiratory irritation, particularly affecting individuals with conditions such as asthma, who are strongly advised to remain indoors and wear protective face masks when outside. In response, the Ministry of Health has issued comprehensive guidelines to safeguard public health. Key recommendations include staying consistently hydrated with safe drinking water, wearing light and loose-fitting clothing, and utilizing protective gear like hats and umbrellas when outdoors. Vulnerable groups such as young children, older adults, outdoor workers, persons with disabilities, and individuals with limited resources are especially susceptible to heat stress and related illnesses. The ministry stresses the importance of community vigilance, urging residents to check on neighbors and ensure access to cool environments and adequate hydration for those who may need assistance. In regional news, OECS and CARICOM launch regional campaign against cyber threats, DBS St. Lucia reports.
The Cybercrime and Cybersecurity Public Awareness Campaign is a regional initiative under the Caribbean Digital Transformation Project, CARDIPT, implemented by the OECS Commission and CARICOM Impacts with support from the World Bank. The goal is to raise awareness, strengthen public resilience, and promote safer digital practices with the rise of cyber attacks and scams like phishing emails.
This campaign represents a people-centered, regionally coordinated effort to ensure that as digital services expand, so too does public trust and safety. This campaign is being led by the consultant ODEM group of companies under the guidance of our technical lead institution, CARICOM Impacts, and aims to increase general public awareness and knowledge of cybercrime and cybersecurity.
This new public awareness campaign is not just another series of messages or posters. It is designed to be the foundation of our collective digital resilience. It is people-centered, regionally coordinated, and fully aligned with the goals of the CCS CAP.
In a rising wave of digital crime, Inspector Joshua Kami of the RSLPF's IT unit says the police have seen a growing number of fake news incidents, deepfakes of government ministers, and impersonations. Compounding these threats, the unit flagged at least 15 Ponzi schemes in just 2 days and has seen government officials' devices hacked after connecting to public Wi-Fi at airports and conferences.
On the increase is extortion, sextortion, revenge porn, boyfriends threatening the ex-girlfriend that if they do not stay with them, the videos will be released, they will be exposed. We have people here that are actually selling pornography videos online on multiple platforms for a few dollars. How can you avoid this from taking place? As I've said at numerous conferences and lectures, take the photo with your eyes.
Public Service Minister Dr. Virginia Albert Poyot says that as St. Lucia embraces e-government systems like DigiGov, digital payments, online education, and remote business models, exposure to cyber risks multiplies. She highlighted some of the government's actions over the past decade aimed at improving cybersecurity and creating avenues for recourse in case of attacks.
Computer Misuse Act of 2011 criminalizes offenses such as unauthorized access, fraud, and misuse of systems. Data Protection Act of 2011, updated in 2023, provides privacy safeguards for citizens and regulates the management of personal data. Partially commenced in January 2023, with ongoing updates to strengthen compliance with current international best practices.
The campaign will also be rolled out in Dominica, Grenada, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
Grenada-China Agricultural Partnership is wrapping up its 8th phase. Grenada Broadcasting Network has that story.
The Grenada-China Agricultural Cooperation Mission has entered its 8th phase, solidifying a partnership that began in 2005 to 2006. The current phase, which commenced in December 2022, is set to conclude on October 3, 2025, following a request from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to continue this collaboration. This project aims to enhance agricultural technology, upgrade infrastructure at Lasages, and provide comprehensive training in various areas, including citrus disease management, agronomy, irrigation, pest control, agro-processing, fish processing, soil management, and more.
The collaboration that we have with China is perhaps the best example of bilateral countries coming together to work and to help each other. And in this case of China, while bilateral is supposed to bring benefit, I have no doubt that Grenada benefits much more from this collaboration than China does. On the one hand, of course, the Chinese experts and technical professionals would get a sense of how to deal with agriculture in a tropical climate. But when you look at the number of Grenadians who are trained, and you look at the number of technical and equipment and tools that we receive from China, or we would have retrieved from China over the years, obviously, the cooperation is of greater benefit to Grenada than it is to China. And for that, we are extremely very grateful.
In recognition of their outstanding contributions, 7 members of the Chinese mission team, who have been in Grenada for the past 3 years, were honored with pins, medals, certificates, and gift bags by the Ministry of Agriculture.
And I just want to spend a few minutes to indicate, as far as the 9th phase is concerned, the many areas that we're going to have. One area in the 9th phase is that of technical experts. We are asking our friends in China to provide us with a number of technical experts that we consider to be primordial for our agricultural development.
The event was attended by several high-ranking officials, including Honorable Lennox Andrews, Charge d'Affaires Xue Zhuiying, Chief of Mission Ying Chao, Chief Extension Officer Lawrence St. Louis, Permanent Secretary Isaac Bagwan, and Raul Lewis, Extension District Supervisor of the Southern District. The ceremony was supported by the Grenada Tourism Authority and the Nutmeg and Cocoa Associations. I am Elian Lessie for GBN News.
We now bring you these international reports.
2 people are dead, and we know that 17 injured, 14 of them children, and 2 in critical condition. The gunmen themselves shot themselves in the back of, at the back of the church. Not clear whether all the shooting was from outside the church through a window, some possibly inside too. But a very emotional news conference from the Democrat mayor of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis police chief on what has happened here. And it's just at the start of the school term, isn't it, right across the United States?
It is. In many places across the United States, school just began in the last several days. So I think this is something that'll be obviously horrifying for parents around the country, many of whom as recently as Monday just took their children to school for the first time.
Let me bring in some of what the police chief said. Brian O'Hara.
Earlier today, just before 8:30 a.m., our city experienced an unthinkable tragedy. Minneapolis police officers responded to a report of a shooting at a mass that was happening at the Annunciation Roman Catholic Church on the block behind me. This worship service was marking the first week of school for children that are attending the Annunciation Catholic School. During the mass, a gunman approached on the outside, on the side of the building, and began firing a rifle through the church windows towards the children sitting in the pews at the Mass. Shooting through the windows, he struck children and worshipers that were inside the building. The shooter was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. This was a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The sheer cruelty and cowardice of firing into a church full of children is absolutely incomprehensible. Police officers from the Minneapolis Police Department immediately responded, entered the church, and attempted to provide first aid and rescue some of the children that were hiding throughout the building, while other first responders came and EMS responded to rush victims to nearby hospitals. 2 young children, ages 8 and 10, were killed where they sat in the pews. Their parents have been notified. 17 other people were injured, 14 of them being children. 2 of those children are in critical condition. The coward who fired these shots ultimately took his own life in the rear of the church. Our hearts are broken for the families who have lost their children, for these young lives that are now fighting to recover, and for our entire community that has been so deeply traumatized by this senseless attack. We will stand together to protect our children, our schools, and our houses of worship. This deliberate act of violence is just a sign of cruelty that is beyond comprehension. Our hearts are broken for everyone that's been affected by this tragedy. As we begin the difficult path of healing, I want the community to know this, that even in the face of such evil, the Minneapolis Police Department and all of our law enforcement partners stand with our community. We stand with these families and with this parish. We will continue to be here for you.
In northern India's Himachal Pradesh province, people can do nothing but watch as buildings collapse into flood-swollen rivers. Heavy monsoon rains have caused flash flooding across northern India and Pakistan, displacing tens of thousands. In Indian-administered Kashmir, 30 people were killed by landslides on a road to a Hindu pilgrimage site. Damage to roads, collapsed bridges and power outages there have slowed rescue efforts. India says more than 360 millimeters of rain fell in the region on Tuesday alone. People are being warned not to attempt any journeys and to stay away from riverbanks. In the first diplomatic contact between the two countries in months, India warned Pakistan of imminent floods as it released water from upstream dams. That's contributed to flooding in the Punjab region on both sides of the border. Thousands of people had to be moved to safety as rivers burst their banks and flooded farms.
Our houses were submerged and everything was destroyed. Mostly mud houses collapsed. We saved our animals and children.
Nearly 800 have died in Pakistan in this year's monsoon season. And with more heavy rains forecast across the region, there's little hope the waters will subside soon. Freddie Akar, Al Jazeera.
And speak to Dr. Ahmed Al-Farah, who's the Director of Pediatrics and Maternity at Gaza's Nasser Hospital. He's joining us from Khan Yunis. Dr. Al-Farah, thank you for your time. Can you describe to us first the cases you've been seeing lately as we see these latest deaths, famine-related deaths? How do these cases differ from what we've seen since the blockade started 5 months ago?
Okay, the famine-related death is coming first. Thank you for having me. The famine-related death is coming every day for the reception room in Nasser Medical Complex. As we mentioned before, the severe acute malnutrition is one of the most horrible and challenging for doctors for treatment. It's not easy. It is not like pneumonia and not like meningitis and acute follicular tonsillitis. It is all diseases of pediatric are treating for 7, 5, 10 days mostly, and then discharge, except the severe acute malnutrition. Sometimes the patient need to be admitted for 1 month and sometimes 2 months and sometimes 3 months and should be followed up. So we give an example like a dark tunnel for the severe acute malnutrition. Sometimes the child is getting this disease, but we don't know if he can get outside or not, because it is not easily to treat it and it's not easily to be without complication. And we are afraid about the complication of severe acute malnutrition.
Yeah, and I'll ask you more about the long-term effects of this and the complications that you talk about. But Dr. Al-Farah, the Israelis are pointing to allowing in shipments of items like biscuits and chocolate as proof that they're permitting food into the Gaza Strip. Can you tell us how these items, are reaching people, and do they, in fact, have any nutritional value for families and for children who are facing starvation in Gaza?
Okay, first we have to differentiate between two things. Sometimes we will, when talk about severe acute malnutrition, we have two types of severe acute malnutrition. Severe acute malnutrition, which is primary, just severe acute malnutrition without other disease, and we have secondary severe acute malnutrition on top of a chronic disease. Sometimes when the media is talking about a case, you found that the media against that are talking about this is a chronic disease. Okay, he's a chronic disease, but also he's complaining from severe acute malnutrition. If he's a chronic disease, he needs more attention, he needs more calorie, he needs more treatment. So it is not an excuse for him or something to be dying in a chronic disease. This is the first. Second, we have a lot of cases of a primary acute malnutrition that they are not complaining from any disease. They are just having severe acute malnutrition due to unavailability of the food or milk for this patient. And we have a lot of cases in the stabilization center in our hospital. I would like to mention that we facing and we are in a challenge of increase a lot of cases and increase the number of cases of acute severe malnutrition. Right. For example, we have an outpatient clinic in our hospital, which is working in Saturday and Thursday. In the beginning of the famine, they used to see 10 cases or 15 cases. Today, they told me since half an hour that they examined 120 cases. That means that we have nearly 10th-fold that the usual number. We have increased the number, and we have to mention that if the occupational forces are talking about that the food is coming in. Right. Again, Gaza needs 600 trucks, and the number of trucks that get inside Gaza nowadays is just 50 in the best condition.
Dr. Al-Farah, let me ask you now about the consequences. I mean, even if the war stopped tomorrow, what are the long-term health consequences that Gaza's children will face from this period of famine?
Okay, this is the most that we have to mention, and we have to make the audience and everyone to take care about that. We have 3 phases of the acute malnutrition. The phase 1 is the immediate phase, which is may last for 2 days, and the second phase we called it the adaptation phase, and which may last for nearly 3 or 4 weeks. The most serious is the third phase, which is coming after 4 weeks. And all the children and all the pediatric in Gaza are now in the third phase, which is after 4 weeks. What is the characteristic features of this phase? This is permanent changes in the patient, that it is irreversible. That means if the food is available for this patient, they will not recover. For example, they have affection on the growth hormone. They have a growth hormone deficiency. They will be in short stature in the future. Even the food, if was available, they will not get the ultimate high for them. They will have some affection on the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is the maestro of the metabolism of the body. The child will complaining from inability to think, hypomentality, low IQ, low interaction with the school and the school performance.
Yeah.
Also, we have affection on 6 hormones. They will maybe complain in the future from infertility and delayed puberty. The most serious complication is the affection of the central nervous system. The central nervous system need B1 and B6 and B12 and need polyunsaturated fatty acids, which is unavailable in severe acute malnutrition. These babies may have a problem in cognitive function, in comprehension, in talking, in solving problems, in interaction with the media, interaction with the community. School performance will be affected, and unfortunately, this effect will be permanent even if the food is get inside and they were refed, unfortunately.
One morning in June, an ocean surge swept through the village of Apakin on the coast of Nigeria's Lagos state. Fishing boats and nets were lost. So too were graves. It was just the latest event in the centuries-old community of 3,000 people who have been left powerless as they watch the seas swallow their homes, livelihoods, and ancestral land. Abimbola Iowun says the building he used as a palace when he was appointed village head 3 years ago has gone. They've also been forced to exhume 20 graves.
We have only 2 left here with us after we exhumed 20. We must do sacrifices before we rebury them. We are looking for where to do that, but we have not found a place yet. These graves here are our great-grandfathers.
According to a 2022 report in the Journal of African Earth Sciences, around 80% of the Lagos shoreline has been washed away in the past 5 decades. And while Lagos State says rising sea levels pose the biggest long-term climate risk, the study blamed deep water ports for the erosion.
A lot of dredging is happening, which is pushing water, in the direction of communities, swallowing communities.
Environmentalist Philip Jakpo also points to government-backed projects, including the massive Dangote refinery.
Unfortunately, these communities are poor communities. Most times they don't have a representation in those discussions. And so development with a human face who ideally engage them, they should have their lawyers who will engage these development partners, including government. And then if they have to be relocated, they have to be adequately relocated to places where they can have some of those practice those kind of livelihoods that they are used to.
Apakin is just one of more than a dozen Lagos coastal communities battling ocean surges. But they say they are among the hardest hit. For example, one resident, Abimbola Yesarat, says she doesn't have a house anymore.
She's also lost her husband, and one of her children died in a motor accident. The other son, she adds, built a house, and that house washed away.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were St. Kitts Nevis Tourism Minister on advancing Caribbean tourism at Asta Caribbean Showcase. Police investigating robbery at Good World Limited grocery store. St. Kitts and Nevis grapples with dual health threat. Saharan dust plume meets heatwave. OECS and CARICOM launch regional campaign against cyber threats. Grenada-China agricultural partnership is wrapping up its 8th phase. Internationally, 2 children killed in Minneapolis shooting during Catholic school mass. Thank you for listening.